Hi everybody, this is Ron and Maria, here for another edition of Ask Ron.
Hello everybody. Listen, you just missed a great summit if you weren't in Vegas. Ask anybody that was there. We had a blast in Vegas. And I tried to get my wife to come down and give everybody video poker lessons, but she was too busy winning money up at Harris. She wouldn't even take a break and come do it. But we still had a great time. So we're going to do this again now. Different event. But stay tuned, because on Valentine's Day 2018, we will be in Golf World Village, right south of Jacksonville, Florida, right north of Daytona Beach, Florida. So be on the lookout for it, because I want you at the next one. By the way, I can tell you right now, we're going to give away a brand new pickup truck at that event. And wait till you see who we're booking as the featured speaker. Okay. What questions do we have this week? I got no background music. I got nobody sitting beside me. It's just me, little old me here, all by myself, back at the office. All right, what do we got?
All right, so first question comes in from Phil from Ohio.
Phil from Ohio.
Phil says, I've offered to buy subject to and or lease option a number of properties. In many of these, the owner needs to get his current mortgage paid off in order to buy another house within the next year. Doesn't that make it difficult to get deals, since most sellers eventually want to purchase another home?
All right, well, Phil, let's start from scratch. First of all, you don't offer to buy subject to or owner financing. The seller tells you that they would accept a monthly payment. And if your asking price is close to your debt, then you'll probably buy it subject to, which for listeners that don't know, that means Phil just takes over their debt and he doesn't assume anything, he doesn't fill out an application, and it doesn't show on his credit report. He just starts making payments when he and the seller agrees. When that's not applicable and you're buying with owner financing, the seller just has to agree that they'll take a monthly payment until you pay them off. Now, when they come up with the objections, I want to get my loan paid off to buy another house, you got to make it very clear. If you need your loan paid off now, I can't buy your house. I can only buy it on terms, giving me time to find a person that I want to put in the house to get qualified so that I can then cash you out. But if you have to have your loan paid off now, I can't help you. However, Mr. Seller, many people find that they don't have to have their loan paid off to go buy another house. Remember, I'm going to be giving you a monthly payment to washes out your debt. I'll give you documentation that shows that, which is not true on subject to, incidentally. That's one reason why you want to buy with owner financing, if that's the case, because now they can take that document, in Ohio that'd be a land contract that I'm buying on, and they can show a lender that they're receiving enough money to wash out their debt. Therefore, they can probably go qualify for another loan without destroying their debt ratio. So your only option is to show them that, and if that doesn't satisfy their needs, ask them, well gosh, what will you do if you don't get the house cashed out? And whatever their answer is, then I'd ask them, do you want me to follow up in about a month, see how it's going? And that's where you put it in Dreams, and Dreams pops up a month from now and tells you to call them again. All sellers' minds will change with time and circumstance. You just need to be there when that time happens, and I can tell you that a lot of your deals will come from that follow-up. You can't help everybody. You can't be all things to all people, so just tell it like it is. Try to give them solutions that you can think of, and then work with the people who want to work with you. And don't spend time with those who don't.
All right, so next question.
Short answer.
Next question is from Tommy from Virginia.
Hey, Tommy.
Hi, Ron. What do you do when a realtor calls and asks for more information for buyers they work with? I had one call me and asked whether I work with realtors or not.
Well, Tommy, you just got to tell them yes or no. If they want to bring you a cash buyer, the answer is yes, Tommy, just for the record. But you can tell them you're going to have to agree upon the commission. Now look, every time I renovate a house, I list it with a realtor. I got 2 out there for sale right now with realtors, and I pay them a full 6% commission. Now, but if that's not something you want to do, perhaps you can tell the realtor, I'll give you a 3% commission, which is all they get anyway. So if some realtor wants to bring you a buyer, then tell them I'll pay you 3%, and they're almost certainly going to accept that, because if somebody else were to bring in a buyer on their listing, they'd only get 3%, and they have to split that with their broker. So yeah, you work with realtors if they're bringing you all cash buyers, especially at full asking price. Just say yes, Tommy. Just make it clear, 3% maximum commission.
And a second question also from Tommy. Is there a place on the lease option contract with the sellers to put the $10 on,
No.
or do we just write a check for it to be valid?
You don't need to write a check at all. Now listen to this, Tommy, and that's going to take some thinking on your part. If I put a purchase and sale agreement in front of you, it says that I'm going to close at some date in the future, and here's a $10 deposit to bind our agreement until I close. If I put a lease option agreement in front of you and you sign it, we are closed. There's no deposit needed. When the seller signs the lease option agreement, I now control that multi-$100,000 property, and there's nothing else for me to do. I control it the minute I leave the house with the signature. Therefore, there is no deposit and there's no place to put the deposit.
And next is Fernando from Palm Bay, Florida.
Fernando.
Hi, Ron. I have a friend who owns a 43-unit apartment complex in a so-so location, so it's a C property.
Okay.
He's 50% occupied and has no willingness or funds to get the other 20-plus units rehabbed and occupied. He doesn't want to sell. He offered me to take over those units, rehab them myself with my contacts and my funds, lease them, and manage. He offers me to get my rehab funds back first with the rent coming in, and then after I recoup my funds, I will keep $200 per unit for 10 years. I will have no equity participation. I will be responsible for managing, collecting, and evicting. Is this a good deal, or is there a better way?
It's a good deal, Fernando, for him. It sucks for you. Under no circumstances do you ever go renovating somebody else's apartment complex in the hopes that he'll do what he says. If you don't own it, you know a fix it. Let me say that again. If you know own it, you know a fix it, especially if you're gonna go get the money to do the fixing. That's a crappy deal. Ask him if he wants to buy it, and even then he's gonna have to sell it on terms with the conditions it's in, because it can't be financed other than owner financing. And if he doesn't want to buy it, go find something more productive that'll actually make you money without bringing a partner into your life that's going to make you wish you'd never, ever, ever, ever heard of this guy. That deal that he proposed to you is brilliant for him. You go fix it, you do all the work, you rent it up, and then he'll find a way to get rid of you. That's what's going to happen, Fernando. The answer is no.
And last question is from Phil again.
Hey, Phil.
Ron, you say it's preferable to buy subject to rather than lease option because you receive the deed.
I own it, yeah.
My concern is that if interest rates shoot up, mortgage lenders may do a computer search to find deed transfers of low interest rates in order to call those loans and then loan out the money at higher rates. That's why I prefer lease options.
I see.
Isn't it an incentive to sellers if we show them that by lease optioning, they can continue to build up their principal?
Phil, your question is so fatally flawed, I don't know where to start. First of all, if you don't buy the house, you have no control really, except that which a seller grants you. Secondly, you cannot depreciate the house. You can't depreciate a house, you lease. Thirdly, there is no department at any lender that is looking for reasons to call a loan due just because the title transferred. Believe me, they can care less. All they want are payments. You are never in a better position leasing than you are owning. And lastly, you said the seller gets the debt pay down. Well, if that's the case, then you did not do the deal the way I trained, sir. I never give the seller the debt pay down. I get the debt pay down if I lease option a house. There are cases when it's better to lease option, largely in those states where the transfer tax are so high and there's very little equity in it. Let's take Maryland. If I got to pay 3% of the purchase price, say $500,000, that's $15,000 just to transfer the deed. Well, if I've got a deal where I only got $30,000, $40,000 equity in it, I'm probably not likely going to pay that 15 grand. I'll lease option it just to avoid that. But I'm telling you, I'd rather own it. Sometimes I pay the 15 grand as long as I get enough equity in it, just because I own it. When I own it, I control it. I don't need the seller. I don't need him to sign anything later except a satisfaction of mortgage, which he's obligated to do by law when he gets paid off, and I get to depreciate it. I want you to sit down and figure out what depreciation means to you, sir. Take the purchase price of the property, subtract about 15% for land, divide that balance, which is basis, by 27 and a half years, and look at all that money you're paying in taxes every single year just because you would rather lease option it than buy it. Honestly, if you don't want to buy it, there's some underlying reason behind it, way beyond what you just told me. Any seller, 98% of the sellers who will lease option the property to you would much rather sell it to you than lease option it to you anyway. So unless you've got a reason you haven't stated here, buy it, baby, buy it. That it?
That's it.
That's all the questions? All right. Okay, so that's all the questions for this week. Now listen, go ahead and get your questions in here for next week. I will be in Orlando next week doing the Quick Start Real Estate School. Maybe you'll be there. If you are, make sure you bring plenty of leads with you. Now this Saturday, I'll be in Baltimore. Same thing. I'll have Lynette Wolf there calling all of the sellers, creating deals while we're there right on site, setting them up for you to go out and get them under contract after we leave the event. So if you happen to be in Baltimore watching this, get leads. You still got time. Property information sheets. And if you don't get all the answers, bring them anyway, so Lynette can call them for you. Irregardless, it all starts with generating leads, folks. And if you're on the Gold Club and you're watching this, you're getting them every single day. And if you're not getting them, go over to the left of your site and click on FSBO Leads and set it up and pick your 2 counties, and every day they'll come across your inbox. I can't tell you how many deals we get out of just that everywhere we go. At the convention we just left, we did over $2 million worth of profit, but that is front end and back end profit on deals that the students bought. In 3 days, we did over $2 million worth of deals right there on site in front of all of the students. So bring the leads. Come see me where you can, keep in touch with where I'm at, and bring leads when you come, and we'll turn them into deals for you, and I'll show you just how easy it is to take that piece of paper and turn it into cash flow. By the way, don't listen to the people that tell you that nobody wants to do terms. It's crap, absolute crap. That's a good excuse for getting lazy and not doing anything. And while you're at it, ask yourself who's giving you this advice. It's people who have no idea what they're talking about, probably brand new and haven't done half of what I told them to do. Therefore, they're not doing well. Or it's your competition that is doing well, who would just soon see you die as to succeed. Be very careful to whom you listen. There are terms deals everywhere we go, all over the country, from California to Florida. Always has been, always will be. And the system is set up for you to harvest them. And honestly, 90% of what I do. It's so much easier than doing the rehabs. I still rehab 1 or 2 a month. In fact, I just okayed one before I sat down here. I just okayed a rehab with a $47,000 cost to rehab it. That's the last thing I did before I started filming today. So yep, I still do this stuff. The old guy still does it. See you next week.